Hello, all you beautiful beings. Um, you're probably wondering why I'm wearing this cute kitten hat with a little floppy ear, guys. When it's actually 90 degrees in Montgomery County in the DC area. The reason for that is because I am having a very, very bad hair day. The humidity is not helping, and so I do not want to show my hair to all of you. You were going to look at this cute little hat I'm wearing instead. But I guess in a way I was kind of inspired by a few of my friends talking about their mental health issues to talk about my own during this series. This invisible illnesses series. I have delved a little bit into my depression. I talked about it in my ableism and pseudoscience video, and I've talked about it a few things like tangentially related to it previously, which I will link below in the description. Um, For some reason today, I was actually thinking about this. It's a picture of me. It's actually my, hmm, pre-K school picture. Yeah, it's 1991. George Bush Sr. was president. Beauty and the Beast became the first animated film nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and I started pre-K. Here's little me. I can even remember that dress. Grandma usually made me wear it to church. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I think about my little smile I have in there. So bright and happy. Hmm. And I was actually thinking, like, I don't usually smile like that anymore. You know, and especially in pictures, I don't like give big toothy smiles anymore. Even my avatar on this channel isn't big and toothy. It's just kind of like pursed lips and I don't know. I don't know how much that has to do with my depression or just me being just really kind of a serious person, like personality wise. I will say that there are a lot of experiences I've had since then that have like kind of screwed me up in a lot of different ways. Um, mm, my mother has she's a teacher, so she works with like young kids. Um, she teaches first grade currently. And she speculated that I actually might have an autism spectrum disorder, possibly Asperger's syndrome, high functioning. And I've actually read different perspectives from different women who found out they have autism spectrum disorders or Asperger's syndrome. And yeah, they sound very familiar. I remember yesterday I was reading this article about this woman. Oh, she was a teen mom, and her daughter has Asperger's syndrome, um, but it was overlooked for a long time. But at least this little girl got diagnosed. I never was. It's like when I was growing up, kids didn't get diagnosed with autism a lot. It was especially not little black girls. It's because like when you think Asperger's syndrome, and most of the people affected are white boys and white males. That's what people think of. So they might not even check like people like me. Uh, just a moment. Okay, so yeah, I think I think a lot of the issues I had were exacerbated by a lot of my experiences in school. I was I was a sweet little girl. I wasn't perfect by any means. Um yeah, I was sweet, but had poor social skills. Sometimes I had innocently insensitive moments that my mom would have to correct me on. Not proud of them. I also Starting at age 8, I started having I had trouble forming friendships, but I started developing friendships with other kids in my class, usually ones who were were considered like the weird kids or like the quote unquote not geeks even because like they um but there was one girl in particular. I'm gonna call her Emma. That's not actually her name, but she still lives in this area, so I want to protect her identity. Um, who I was friends with. Yeah, and for some reason, people were really, really mean to her, and because I was friends with her, people then were really, really mean to me, and like this this continued through the end of elementary school. Um, I figured at the end of elementary school that'd be the end of it. Um, I mean, it was. I mean, I know kids can be jerks, just like adults can be jerks, but like my personality, like because I was people who are pretty sensitive, like our pride gets hurt easily. It just does. That's just how it is. Um, but I hoped like that would be the end of it. Like when I started junior high, things would get better. They didn't. People like junior kids in junior high are even worse. God, the comments I got. I think some like people would make fun of me for like the pettiest reasons. Boys would pretend like they had crushes on me just to be jerks to me, and then like I didn't need that. Some boy called me Miss Piggy, and in like seventh, eighth grade, I didn't even really have a weight problem. I'd started getting a little bit pudgy, but not really. But like it took a toll. And okay, I believe. Um, and I did have like drama with my parents, as you do when you're 13, 14 years old. But I think okay, 13 was the first time I had suicidal ideation. I actually took out a. I don't want to talk about how I did it, but the way I was stopped was that my brother, who was 8 years old then, he walked in and he stopped me. My younger brother. He was the only. He was at the time. I think one of my youngest brothers was born, but not the youngest one. And my mom, my he told my mom, and my mom asked me then if I wanted to talk to someone about these things, and at the time I said no. At the time I just kind of thought I need to deal with this on my own because it's like for a long time you're just taught like you need like it's a whole mindset of like when people act shitty to you essentially you just need to get a thicker skin and deal with it. It's like but it's like you can't tell them to stop. God, I wish I'd taken a page from God if I could go back in time from the lovely and talented Lily Pete and grab the heaviest object I could reliably swing and beat their fucking teeth in with it. And people gave I'll link her channel below. Subscribe to her, she's freaking awesome. People apparently gave her a lot of crap for saying that, like for like advising children to do that if their bullies wouldn't stop bullying them. It's like the only thing I'm gonna say about that is nobody's actually against that. Nobody's actually against like retaliating against bullies with violence, and I'll prove it. I bet a lot of you guys are fans of A Christmas Story. Does anybody boo the main character when he beats the shit out of that little ginger kid who torments the neighborhood? Nothing? No? Yeah, I thought not. Thank you. Um, so I think I don't want to say that my depression is just because of bullying because um I don't think it was. I think it's not just the bullying, it's just the way I guess it's my personality and how like the bullying affected me because of that. Um and then okay, so after junior high, I just kind of thought, okay, I'm going to a high school now, blank slate. And well, it was a blank slate, but I started high school in August of 2001. A couple weeks later, guess what happened? Yeah, I can even remember that very day. I can remember how I found out. I saw my one of my best friends in the hallway at lunch crying, and like I just kind of I didn't know a whole lot about what was going on. Um, but yeah, we all got we it was a state of emergency, so we all got sent home early. The next day was still state of emergency, so we didn't have school. I was still in like such a state of shock that I didn't even like break down crying about it until Wednesday, September 12th, like the day after. I just broke down. Yeah, I think I have heard that a lot of people had a lot of people in the United States had some symptoms of PTSD after 9/11 to varying degrees and varying symptoms of it. And that's not surprising. It's like, and then when you see all these political officials and all these news people like talking about all this really scary bad shit. It's like, yeah, you get. It's like when you're like a 14, 15-year-old kid hearing that. Like, what do you think? It's just like, wow. At that time, became pretty confused about my own mortality. I started I didn't really have a super religious upbringing. I mean, I mentioned my grandma and church. Pretty much the only time we did go to church was when we visited my grandma. 'Cause she used to be before she retired a minister, a Pentecostal minister. Ugh. Um, yeah, so I started trying to learn more about Christianity because I wanted my soul to be saved. Like if there was another terrorist attack and we all died, like Cheney and Rumsfeld told us we were. Yeah, they're, uh, yeah, they really should. There, people like that make me wish there was a hell, but I digress. Um, but yeah, that just made me more confused and more conflicted because like I knew not everybody was Christian and like not everybody would turn Christian and like I worried about other people and like that just made everything worse. Like for example, my best friend was Jewish. One of our other friends was Hindu. It's like when you're a kid, you don't I was 15 years old, so I didn't exactly grasp the concept religion of religion being much older than just Christianity, and Christianity actually being one of the younger religions compared to say Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and numerous pagan religions. So like that whole thing concept was foreign to me. Of course I'm an atheist now, so like I understand all that stuff a lot better. Um, but yeah, that just made me even more depressed. So my first year of high school was, was um, as far as grades, that's the one thing. That's the one thing teachers actually do care about. They don't care if you get bullied and abused and you're like screwed over for life. But they do sure as hell care about your grades and your test scores. But yeah, the important thing is I'm not bitter. That was a joke. My grades were always pretty good, A's and B's, the occasional C. I was always very like book smart. I was always I loved to read. My shelf is crammed full of books, most of which I've read. I just really I'm re- I taking new information and all sorts of stuff. And I always did pretty well in school, including in subjects I wasn't so crazy about, like algebra. By the way, another day's passed that I haven't used that once, so yeah. Um, even during this like depressing first year of high school, grades. For God's sake, I'm turning off these notifications. Anyway, I can't remember what they were like in sophomore year. I don't remember a whole lot about sophomore year. The one thing I do remember was that I really loved my math. I really loved my English class, but there were boys in there who would just abuse me and like bother me for no reason. I'm just like, for fuck's sake, just leave me alone. I'm just trying to learn. It's like you ruined this. You ruined my second favorite class. Art was my first favorite. In fact, art was the only thing I took AP Studio Art. That was the bomb. But yeah, but I still was having like emotional issues and stuff like that. And yeah, my parents, they didn't, it's not like they were trying to not be supportive, but like they didn't really know what to make of it. They just kind of wondered if it was like typical teenage moodiness and laziness. And, you know, when every summer we used to visit my grandmother back when she lived in Buffalo, New York. She lives in, North Carolina now. Um, Now that Buffalo is gentrified and everything, she probably can't afford to live there. But she had a beautiful old house there. Um, yeah, we would visit her, and like she would have me see Christian counselors that she knew, and it's like that didn't help. No, it's like talking to her didn't help. It's like I really want to do a whole video on the topic of how mental illness is dealt with within the Black community, because a lot of times it is dealt with like this whole notion of just turn to religion and that will help. Not always, but a lot of the times that is what's pushed, and like yeah, so it's not always. I mean, some people do find comfort in religion and spirituality, but I really didn't. Um, so I first saw a psychiatrist when I was 16, and a junior in high school. I got stabilized on a few medications. I started to do better, like emotionally. One thing that my school really royally screwed up was putting me in a special class with, they said it was a class with kids who needed help. It was a class full of troublemakers. I wasn't a troublemaker, I had an illness. I had an illness and that's how I was troubled. It's like, being around these kids just made it worse. It's like, cause like this was what I was trying to get away from. It's like, God. Yeah. Okay, so, but, eventually I did finish high school. I did have friends and stuff. The last year of high school I made friends with all the theater geeks, which was great. Um, I, I, I check them out on Facebook, and they're all leading like, some of them are some of them are still acting, some of them are doing whole other things, but they all seem really happy, so I'm really happy for them. Um, I really don't want to go too much into my first year of college, because that was, yeah, I'll just say it was a difficult time, and I didn't always feel so supported, but yeah, it's been kind of rough, but now here I am, 30 years old. I think about this little girl. Will I ever smile like her again? Mm, no. When you're it's like, growing up doesn't necessarily, people say growing up sucks, and yeah, it does to a certain degree, because you learn more. You learn that life isn't always fair. You learn that that some people are jerks, you learn that, you know, that unfortunately, if you beat jerks' teeth in, you can go to prison or get, like, beaten up by the cops. Or something. But you also come to understand that, there are other things in life that have value. There's other things you can find meaning in. It's like the older I get, the more I realize, mm, yeah, it would be good to have more money. It would be good to finally move out of my folks' home. It's like, and when that happens, that'll be great. It's like, and every day I can take steps to do that. But like, one thing I've had to learn when having depression, when having anxiety, and especially when trying like hell to find out how to seek an Asperger's diagnosis. By the way, to everyone who's against self-diagnosis, you have never experienced what a bitch it is to seek a diagnosis. It is a pain in the butt. I've asked my therapist. She's like giving me some links to some places, but like I always reach a dead end there somehow. But anyway, I think one of the things I've learned with having depression is being patient with myself. Um, Understanding that I can't always do everything, and maybe that's okay. It's like, I've learned from spoon theory. If you're not familiar with that, um, I can link about it below. But basically, it's anybody who has a chronic illness. Um, Spoons are used to represent what amount of the units of energy you have to expend in a given day. It's like, and some days I have more energy to give than others, and some days, yeah, and some days I make sure I'm practicing self-care. I make sure I'm giving myself a break if I need it. Make sure I'm not overexerting myself, and I'm just being patient and remembering to take my meds and letting people in because having a support system is really important. Okay, so yeah, I know I kind of just rambled off my story of depression and growing up with it. Um, yeah, so it's been kind of a bumpy ride, but I'm glad to still be here, and I'm glad I've made this YouTube channel, and I have this great platform, and I've found a lot of people I relate to. So that's it for today. As always, peace, love, and I need more hydration.